Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast, The Gridiron Generation. We'll be talking about some current events in the NFL, like the playoffs, the head coaching situation, and the draft. So we'll start with Reed's playoff predictions from the conference playoffs.
As the Ravens beat out the Texans last week, and the Chiefs beat out the Bills, we're looking at a Chiefs-Ravens conversation. I think the Ravens will win this one. I think Lamar Jackson had a great game against the Texans last week, who had two throwing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns. I think the Chiefs came off a close one. I think that game goes into overtime and the Bills win it if Tyler Bass makes that field goal. And I think the Ravens are by far the better team. They've got the better defense. Their offense is very high-powered. If they can get Dalvin Cook going, who they just picked up from the Jets.
They picked up Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He played a little bit at the end of the Texans game. So if they can get Dalvin Cook going or Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, I think that'll be a good thing for them. Also, Zay Flowers, they can get him going. And I think that offense will just overpower the Chiefs' defense. And I guess the Ravens secondary is one of the better ones in the NFL. But still, the Chiefs wide receivers can't really catch a ball. We've seen it all year. So I think the Chiefs wide receivers being able to catch balls is the only thing that might actually help the Chiefs here. But I think it'll be a pretty big blowout, and I think the Ravens have this one. For the NFC, Lions and 49ers, I think the 49ers will win this one by a slim margin. I think the Lions are a great football team. I guess their only problem is their defense. Their defense has allowed a lot of points this year, and especially with how the 49ers offense has been playing with Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, but Deebo Samuel could be out.
He might be out.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy's been doing good. Christian McCaffrey, if Christian McCaffrey's going to be out there, the Lions are going to bring more players in the box.
That'll George Kittle and Deebo.
Yep, that'll open up the middle of the field and for deep balls and stuff like that. So if Deebo does play, then he should have a great game, and so could George Kittle. George Kittle is basically another wide receiver, and then they basically just put Kyle Juszczyk at tight end, which is what the 49ers have been doing all year. I think the 49ers take this one. And the Lions offense, they've been playing great, but I don't know if it's enough to keep up with the 49ers defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And then your Super Bowl prediction?
So that leaves me with 49ers and the Ravens in a rematch. I think the Ravens take this one. Not by too much, but I think it'll be like 7-10 points, maybe a game time field goal going into overtime. And I think it'll be a close game up until the first half where the 49ers will lead like 17-10. They'll get their hopes up, but then the Ravens are going to climb back and Lamar Jackson's going to have a great second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I agree with both of your playoff matchups. I think the Ravens will actually blow out the Chiefs. I just don't think their offense is quite the scoring it used to be, and I just don't think the Chiefs' defense is ready for Lamar Jackson. So I don't think their offense will be able to keep up, and then I think it'll be a better game than the Chiefs-Ravens games were for the Lions and Niners. But I still think, especially if Deebo plays, the Lions don't have a shot at winning this game. If he doesn't, I do think there's a chance, as long as Jared Goff doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, which is always questionable, there's a slight chance that they could pull the game out. So, and then my Super Bowl prediction, I have this going either way. It's not really the team who plays better who's going to win this game. It's going to be the team that makes fewer mistakes. I mean, if we look at the last time they played, Brock Purdy threw four interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So he just can't make a whole lot of mistakes again, and that's going to be the key, I think, for the Niners. They just can't make mistakes, and they have to force the Ravens to make mistakes, to make plays they don't want to make. And then we're going to talk about some of the recent matchups. In the NFC, we have the Bucks beating the Eagles by quite a bit, which little concerning for the Eagles, especially they probably, them dropping, I think 6 of their last 7 games this year,
it was something crazy.
Yeah, isn't very good. And
I think they started 5-0, and then went 6-6 for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
they were 10-1 at one point, and then they just absolutely fell off to the 3 or 4 seed. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was 4.
Yeah,
and I think it was a wild card too.
The Bucks stopped the tush push, which is also more concerning.
Yeah, that's crazy. That tush push has got to be so hard to
You can hear
stop.
alarms going off about that. Somebody stopping the tush push. So the Cowboys choke again. Mike McCarthy's probably out. I think Bill Belichick will probably go to the Falcons, but I think there is a real chance that they could consider him going to the Cowboys. And then the Steelers-Bills. I'm a Steelers fan, so I was pretty happy that we even made the playoffs. And the fact that we only lost by 2 touchdowns and the Bills had to wimp out because I saw something that said the Buffalo Sabres still played a home game. The away team traveled in. So the travel ban didn't stop the game. It was just the fact that they had too much snow on the field, which is a little bit disappointing because I think a snow game in the playoffs like that would have been really cool. And then
Texans and Browns.
Yeah.
Texans crushed the Browns. I think it was 45-14 or something.
At one point.
Joe Flacco, his chances at comeback player of the year probably just got ruined.
I don't think he would have been the comeback player of the year. He only played so many games.
Yeah, and then C.J. Stroud put up a great performance.
I think he's the rookie of the year this year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, not even close. He's definitely going to be the rookie of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's Will Anderson, who also plays for the Texans. He had a great game against the Browns.
He'll
and
probably
the
win Defensive
Ravens.
Player of the Year.
That's a bold statement, actually.
Or no, not Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Oh, okay.
I think T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett will win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, so then what other games we had? The Ravens.
The Ravens didn't play a wild card game.
They were the number 1 seed.
Yeah, the Chiefs, Dolphins. Tua could not throw the ball deep. I'm not sure if it was the cold, the not wanting to make mistakes, but he kept on those checkdowns, the slants and stuff. Mahomes' helmet broke. That was pretty interesting. I think they actually had to take a timeout because they didn't have an extra helmet for him, which wasn't very good. And
let's move on to the Super Bowl conspiracy theory. So the theory right now is that the colors of the Super Bowl logo are the teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl, and the winning team's color is on the bottom of the logo. Mm-hmm. So as of right now, if they don't change it, the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl with the 49ers are on top, and the Ravens colors are on the bottom, which is not the reason why we picked our standings.
Mm-mm.
It's just simply a matter of what teams are good and what teams are not. But it would be pretty crazy because I think it's the last 3 years they have been the Super Bowl colors.
No, if we do really look at the logos, I looked at is this Super Bowl 59 or 58?
I
think it's 59.
58.
Oh, Yeah, but like last year's, I mean, that was more of a blue color than a red.
Yeah.
And like red is almost every team's color. I mean, how many colors? Like, let's say the Steelers made the Super Bowl this year. They would have said that little red diamond could have been part of their colors. So I don't think it's actually true. I think it is a weird coincidence, though.
All right, let's move on to the head coaching situation. So Bill Belichick, he is still in the conversation with Atlanta. That's where I think he'll go, but who knows if he can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll,
He stepped down.
He stepped down from head coaching, and I think he is now. He's still with the Seahawks organization.
Yeah, but he's like some senior executive assistant. So I think they're really just doing. I think they're doing it so that, let's say whoever, I forget who replaced him, the Seahawks coach doesn't do well this year, they can bring Pete Carroll back. If he does do well this year, then they'll let Pete Carroll go. So, and then we have Mike Tomlin, who has announced that he would like to stay with the Steelers, and I think the Steelers fans, including myself, should be really happy about that, because there's no doubt he could go to a little bit better team and probably have much more success. But he's had 18 straight winning seasons, which is just incredible for any coach.
And then Mike McCarthy, Dallas Cowboys coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a fine coach. I think it's a combination of both him and the team. I think he has like maybe 1 year or left on his contract, or it expires this year. If it expires this year, he's gone. But if it expires next year, I think he's gonna stay for 1 more year. See if they can get over that playoff hump. And then Mike Vrabel. It was
I just
honestly
can't believe they got rid of him.
It was honestly a surprise to see him go against the Texans, the Tennessee Titans. I think Mike Vrabel is one of the better coaches in the NFL. Former linebacker. I think he's good. I think it was more.
I thought he was a tight end.
No, he was a linebacker. I think he's an amazing coach, and I think it's more of a team situation because the Texans don't have many Pro Bowl level talents on their team.
And I think Derrick Henry's contract expires this year, so I think they trade him because people might still give him like a second or third round pick, but I don't think he should stay. I think, like I said, he could go to earlier off recording. He could go to the Ravens, which would be the scariest option in the whole league. Like, I wouldn't have to go against that. And then you talking about Mike McCarthy. I mean, let's look at the Cowboys team. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, Zach Martin.
Bland.
So many good players on that roster. Would you tell me you would take, if you say it's some of a team issue too, who are you taking as your head coach on, let's say, the Lions? Are you taking Dan Campbell and the Cowboys personnel, or are you taking Lions personnel, Mike McCarthy as your head coach? Which one do you think you have a better shot at making the playoffs?
Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell.
And the Cowboys personnel. So I think it is a bit of a coaching issue. So,
tons of talk around there. Now let's move on to Nick Saban. I think he's done. He retired after the Michigan-Alabama game in the Rose Bowl. Nick Saban.
Sad to see him go, though.
Yeah, will go down as one of, if not the best.
He won't go down as one of. He will go down as the best head coach
in college football history. He coached for the Chargers, I believe, right? Or was that a different team? He coached Alabama for a while.
He coached the Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Yeah. Speaking of the Chargers, though, Jim Harbaugh bolting up, going to his former NFL team, going to coach the Chargers, which will be really interesting. I think the Chargers have a really good personnel. Is that water? Okay. I think it's really good personnel around him. It'll be interesting to see how much of his team he takes with him. So that'll be interesting. And then let's move on to the draft. So
some key picks right now. The Bears' first overall. What should they do with
really
it?
Really interesting.
I think Justin Fields is actually a fine quarterback. I think he played fine this year. I think he needs to get like a running back that can do things out of the backfield, like as a last resort option. I think they should trade the first overall pick for like an additional like 3 first rounders, which they can probably get, because Caleb Williams will go first.
Really hot take here, real quick. Derrick Henry could get traded this year, right? We agreed on that early in the draft. You just said that they probably need a running back who can do stuff out of the backfield, and I also think if you went to the Ravens, it's a scary QB option. I think if you went to the Bears for the first overall pick, I think that's also a very scary, very, very scary option. That you've got a ton of speed and agility on Justin Fields' side, and then you have a ton of strength and power on Derrick Henry's side.
I also think
that would be a really hot take. Doubt that'll happen, but I think it'll be really interesting on Derrick Henry's future.
And then even if the Texans, or not the Texans, even if the Bears trade that first pick, they could probably get an extra first rounder from the Tennessee Titans, if they really want, and then they could use that on an O-lineman to protect C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
And then or if they get Derrick Henry, they can get that O-lineman to try and plow away for Derrick Henry, because we know he's just such a powerful runner.
I also think there's a chance that the Patriots might trade up. Like they would trade away. Maybe I'm trying to think of some receivers they have. They don't really have any
Kendrick
much.
Bourne maybe is their top one. But he got hurt.
So I think if they trade, if they switch their picks, and then the Patriots would also maybe give away like Matthew Judon or something like that. So then the Bears could probably get quite a bit of stuff out of it, but also get Marvin Harrison Jr., which would be
a great weapon.
I know. Did they ever play in college together? They didn't,
No, I don't think so.
I
think Marvin Harrison was in his freshman year.
Let's just talk about some players. How about we'll each name a couple of players, and then the other we'll talk about for the draft. They'll talk about underrated, overrated, or properly rated. I'll go first. Do you think Caleb Williams will be bust, or do you think he'll actually do something in the NFL?
I think he'll be like Justin Fields. Like like a team will draft him, but really early. But then he'll like take like 5 or 6 seasons to actually get going, and then I think he'll be like on a
bad team still.
Yeah, like still on a bad team that's still trying to rebuild, and then he'll be like the same level of talent as somebody like C.J. Stroud at this point, as he is right now.
I don't think he'll get. I mean, maybe it was just Lincoln Riley's like terrible defenses over the years, but what they never made the CFP, had one really good season, so he had one really good season, but didn't his team go 7-5 this year?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was rough.
And part of that Notre Dame loss, I'm also a Notre Dame fan. I was watching that game. He threw 2 or 3 interceptions, and not some, probably 2 of them were all sort of his fault. He got nervous or something like that. And then,
some other notable QBs that are going into the draft this year would be Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner. Drake May played for North Carolina. J.J. McCarthy with his ability to roll out of the pocket. And then even Michael Penix Jr., he might go in the first round, like a big, giant slinger. There's just a ton of talent in this draft. I think this draft will be absolutely packed.
Yeah. And then, so there's a big free agent market. Like, there are a lot of people who can possibly move to a new team. We have Mike Evans could leave, Danielle Hunter, Chris Jones. I think he actually just signed a contract. Jason Kelsey might retire this year. Yeah, it looks like Derrick Henry's contract does expire. Josh Jacobs. That would be a really. Tony Ballard. Saquon Barkley got franchise tag. No, I don't think he's available. Chase Young might be about to leave. So, a lot of big people. It'll be a really big offseason.
And then some retirements. Jason Kelsey.
He might retire.
I think he already did retire.
No, it was turned out to be a false wording from ESPN.
Yeah, so Jason Kelsey is probably going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
I think this Eagles team right now is in shambles.
Yeah,
I think
I know.
they are not going to be anywhere near a playoff team next year.
I know. They're playing with fire and how they're playing. So
I think Nick Sirianni's done. I think he's just going to get too much hate from the fans.
I think give it one more year and then maybe.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the playoffs awards. Who do you think your MVP is, Reed?
My MVP right now, I think there hasn't been a quarterback that has absolutely been a stud this year. I guess the closest to that would be Lamar Jackson.
I know, I was going to say. You don't think Lamar has been really good this year?
That would open up like for another role player like Tyreek Hill. He had a great year. I think he broke a receiving record for the Dolphins.
Playoff exit.
Yeah, I don't think that'll go too well for him. Christian McCaffrey's another one.
I know. I think there's a really solid chance that he's top 3.
He had a bunch of touchdowns this year, and when somebody has had like more like a ton of touchdowns, like I think it was LaDainian Tomlinson, or I forgot who the other one was. Maybe it was Emmitt Smith. I think they both won MVP when they had a bunch of touchdowns. So I think it's going to be one of those 3 guys.
I agree with that. I would like to see Christian McCaffrey win it. He's had a really good year. Offensive Player of the Year, I think it'll be Lamar Jackson because a quarterback pretty much has to win that award.
I think
if he doesn't win MVP, I think if Lamar wins MVP, I think it's Christian McCaffrey who wins Offensive Player of the Year. If Lamar or Tyreek Hill win Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey will win the MVP.
Yeah, so
Defensive Player of the Year. Or no, you can talk about your Offensive Player of the Year.
I totally agree with Henry here. I think that it's kind of stupid that the person that wins MVP
doesn't win Offensive Player of the Year.
They don't win Offensive Player of the Year. Or if a Defensive Player wins MVP, how does that not make them the Defensive Player of the Year?
I would like to see that happen. I don't think it will.
I don't know why the NFL does that. It's kind of weird.
Weird, but I think that's how it'll work. I don't think the MVP will win the whichever side of the ball Player of the Year that they're on.
Yeah.
Rookie of the Year, I think they already sort of agreed that it'll almost positively be CJ Stroud.
And we haven't talked about Bryce Young at all. He had a rough season.
I know, he had a really rough season.
To be fair, he didn't have any weapons around him. I think his best receiver was Adam Thielen.
He didn't do terrible.
But
he's just older and won't be able to. Yeah. So.
The Carolina Panthers have a terrible O-line. They don't have a good tight end. They don't have a reliable running back.
I agree with all of
Like,
that.
who was their starter this year? Chuba Hubbard?
Chuba Hubbard, yep.
And Miles Sanders was supposed to be, but Miles Sanders don't even know what happened to him. Like, he got injured, then like just never came back.
Defense player of the year. I think it'll be one of the best, or I think it'll be T.J. Watt or Myles Garrett, somebody from the AFC North like that. 2 really good seasons. And then defensive rookie of the year, probably Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah, both on the Texans, by the way.
I know
think
the Texans had a really good rebuild. It'll be interesting just to see how they can thrive next year. I don't think I've seen this good of a rebuild since when Nick Bosa got drafted. They had the number 2 pick or the number 3 pick,
2 or
and then
3.
I think they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So
with the 49ers. Right?
Yeah, haven't seen quite a rebuild like that for some time. So it'll be really interesting.
I think what the Texans are doing right now is amazing for the organization, their fans. I like getting back to their Super Bowl contending team. Like they had that one year against the Chiefs where they blew like a 24-0 lead. I think they're going to be back next year. I think right now, I think the Texans will win the Super Bowl in a good 5 years.
Okay.
If not less than that.
No, I agree with that.
When C.J.
Another
Stroud
crazy thing.
gets a little bit more
If Derrick
experience.
Henry went there, that'd be insane.
I guess the only thing the Texans offense needs right now is a running back.
Running
Is
back,
a good running
or
back.
like a really good wide receiver. I could see them getting Rome Odazone.
Ooh.
That would be a really nice duo.
Yeah.
There. Both probably very much dislike Michigan.
Yeah.
That's one more thing I would like to talk about, the Jaguars. Really shaky season. Had some ups, had some downs. Trevor Lawrence obviously missed his first couple of games as a player. Really nerve-wracking. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do in the next seasons and stuff. But I think they're just missing that one piece of the puzzle that they might not know. So.
Oh, and the one guy, or actually 2 guys that we kind of forgot about on the free agent list is Stephon Gilmore and Micah Hyde. They both had pretty good seasons with Dallas and Buffalo. I think Dallas' defense was actually like super good this year.
Yeah.
I think Micah Parsons could even be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, yeah. I think they just moved him to the wrong position. Wasn't he like a D lineman this year? And that just didn't work out.
Yeah, I really don't know. And then C.J. Gardner-Johnson, he's also going to be a free agent. Same with Austin Eckler.
Austin Eckler, Josh Allen, the linebacker, not the quarterback. And that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you for listening, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for tuning in to the Gridiron Generation.